So today I'm at the Museum of East Anglian Life and I have my own personal tour guide. I'm not quite sure exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, so I'm Tom. I'm the conservation officer here at the museum. So I'm in charge right now of the new river project that's going on, and we're opening up footpaths for our guests and promoting biodiversity, doing talks and tours down there. There's an art installation that's going to happen sometime soon, and we're even developing an allotment site, so there's lots happening.
So you've got a little team with you at the moment, have you?
Yeah, so I've got the Kickstart group with me right now. So the Kickstart program is a government scheme that's helping to provide employment opportunities for young folks between 18 and 24, and we've hired on quite a number of them, and actually I have 10 on my project alone, which has been really helpful for both for us and for the Kickstarters themselves.
Sure.
Basically, they've been helping out a lot with opening up trails, doing fencing work, maintaining the trail that we have open. We've also installed a hide down at the bottom.
Great.
We've done other things like removing invasive species, surveying, lots of different camera work, photography, all kinds of stuff, while giving them training opportunities and giving them the skills so that they can move on to other projects of their own or other career paths.
Okay. And you mentioned invasive species. Around here, is it Himalayan balsam? Is that the number one enemy?
Yeah, so Himalayan balsam is the one that we've been focused on, and we'll chat more about it down at the bottom, because there is some, there's a couple flowers that are out there that I haven't been able to get to yet.
Okay.
Basically, prior to April 2021, there was a path down here, but it wasn't all that well established. And also, it didn't really lead anywhere. So now what we've done is we've opened up a few different areas, so you can do 2 loops.
Okay.
One loop is about 800 meters, and then if you go further, it's another 700 meters roughly. And we've cleared it all and made it all accessible.
Fantastic.
At the moment. There's future plans for it though. So the project we're working on is called the River for All project.
Okay.
And the idea is that the first loop I spoke of is going to be open for all people to access. So it'll be accessible for a wheelchair.
Right, okay.
And we're going to do some surfacing on here as well, with keeping the environment in mind. So we'll probably be laying something down that's sustainable.
Yeah.
Which is really quite neat. Now, the history of the land is also really cool. So you'll see that it kind of undulates. It goes up and down like this, especially when you start looking into the wooded bit. And that's because historically this was used to cultivate hops and willow.
Yeah.
Now the meadows are still today used for cultivating hay and grazing animals, which we have livestock down here. So the start of the project, we've had opportunities to do a lot of wildlife survey work. Okay. We've laid out camera traps, looking for animals that we suspected were here but never actually really knew. Okay. And now we have video evidence confirming that we do have river otters down here that call this home, and they're very healthy and look fantastic. Right. We have water vole. I have video evidence of water vole down here, which is quite special as well. Yeah, yeah. And then various other animals, like your foxes and the other one that is quite cool is we've got badgers down here. Right. A very healthy family. And then all kinds of birds of prey and things like that, which is super, super cool and quite interesting to find in the middle of Stowmarket, where you never would really expect to find it, especially at a museum, right? Most people come to the museum and they don't have nature parks sort of in their mind. But,
and I think that's the difference and the interest between this river and the River Gippings. The River Gipping is very public, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And I appreciate what you just said about making this accessible.
Yeah.
But it's obviously quieter.
It is.
And historically, not as many people coming down here.
Well, and I think finding that balance, right, between having access to a place, but also being able to
respect
it and not just have hordes of people kind of thing come around. Obviously, we want people to come down and walk. That's great. That's what we want. But, you know, as long as we're sticking to the footpath which we established, then that gives, you know,
gives the wildlife,
the rest of the wildlife and the plants and everything to space to live, right? And live comfortably. But I think for the fact that it has been basically not many people have come down for a long time, it's allowed for things to flourish and make it a home. With the meadows as well, which are on either side, and like I said, we graze those for hay, or we graze them and we cultivate hay off them. But one of the meadows we're actually developing into a new allotment site for Stowmarket. So that's a big project that we're working on, but again, we're keeping like the biodiversity and the environment in mind whenever we do anything like that.
And someone mentioned that possibly where the allotments are currently is going to be wetlands.
Yeah, so that's kind of the plan. So the plan is that once we've transferred all the existing allotment holders over to our grounds, we can go back to that site, which gets flooded all the time. It's actually really ideal for a new wetland habitat, which is just like our plan. So it's a long-term plan, but at the moment, that's kind of what our goal is. Up ahead, right here, is where we've started a wildflower project. So where this bench is now, it used to be just nettles. It was all nettles here.
Wow.
So we've knocked all the nettles back, and we've put down a bench, make a nice seating area. But what we've done in the meanwhile is we've created around the perimeter here a bit of a top layer of soil, and we've sowed some wildflower seeds down there, and we'll do it again in the spring. We're actually tomorrow we're going to be putting some bulbs in, daffodils.
Great. So,
and to kind of start up now, this wildflower project started out quite small, but now it's actually really kind of expanded. We have local groups here in Stowmarket who are involved with it, like the Rewilding group, and folks like Red Gables, the wellness center there. But on top of that, in sort of a weird way that all kind of worked out, is the RSPB is doing a project called Operation Turtle Dove. And so it's essentially sowing wildflower seeds, but it's wildflowers that the birds like to eat the seeds from. So we've also got in contact with them. They've donated a bunch of seeds to us. So we're going to be making feed plots for turtle doves in hopes that they'll come here and nest, because we have pretty ideal nesting habitats for them.
Right, fantastic.
And again, you'd never expect it in the middle of a town.
No.
I mean, we are literally on the high street. And this is here. I think this was the original River Orwell, at least that's what I've been told.
That's right,
in that tall tree over there, across the meadow, there's an owl box over there. And like most owl boxes, though, there's no owls living in it. But with our bird surveying that we've done, we found that there was kestrels nesting in there. And we did some more sort of studying of them, and we surveyed them quite a bit. And they actually had 4 chicks that all grew to adulthood, and they all fledged, that's pretty. It says something about the health of the land down here, kind of thing, and the biodiversity and the food availability for them. So they've all fledged now, and they're gone, but it was really fantastic to see, and we've got some great camera trap footage of the fledglings.
Amazing. So that side of the river is also museum land, is it?
Sure is.
Oh,
yeah. And I will take you over there. We might not be able to So this would be the way for the small loop,
Right, okay.
but we're gonna take the longer loop. You know, I had folks from the RSPB come out and say that, you know, this is right up there with, you know, some of the top nature parks and wildlife reserves around Suffolk, kind of thing, in terms of what is actually here.
Yeah.
And then again, which was really cool, just recently we had the Prima Donna Festival here at the museum. So we had lots of folks from like London or elsewhere in the country, like even Scotland and things. And again, they came down here and they were blown away with the amount of green space that we have. Very, very neat. So, this part here is heading out into the woodland.
Okay.
And this woodland was completely inaccessible prior to myself and my Kickstart team coming in. We actually had 2 really large ash trees that had fallen over in a storm that tore out a bridge.
Right.
So we've reestablished the footpath there, and now the woodland's accessible. And it's probably like one of the coolest parts of our trail. So we definitely have grass snakes down here, especially in the woodland.
Right.
I found a couple very large ones pushing up to like their sort of maximum size.
Wow.
Down here. In fact, I almost stepped on one day because I wasn't paying attention. I thought he was a stick. But no one was injured, so we're all right.
Yeah. That's where the fairies and the pixies meet, I guess.
Yeah. Well, so actually, we put these stumps in here. That ash tree that had fallen over.
Okay.
This is it now. So we put in a little seating area for the time being until maybe we might establish something else. To be honest, it was just sort of a break room for us when we were doing the work down here, but we thought it looked really nice, so we've kept it.
Oh, I think... this just looks like a jungle, doesn't it? If you're a small kid.
So it's died back pretty significantly, but this was all really thick. You couldn't see through it. And this is Butterberry.
Okay.
So Butterberry is quite a special plant to have. Lots of like rare moss species use this. So again, we had sort of thought originally to maybe clear some of this patch, but we said no, we're going to leave the Butterberry there. It's good for the wildlife, and it's actually quite the spectacle to see when they're all as tall as they can get in full bloom. Yeah, I mean, you can still see some of the very large ones that are hanging on.
Yeah, I was going to say even now, although it's in dieback, it's still quite impressive.
I believe they can get to be about like a meter in diameter, and actually historically, people did use them for protect against the rain, like as sort of umbrellas and hats and things. But it's called Butterberry because people used to wrap their butter in it.
Oh right.
You know, instead of cling film, we had Butterberry. So there you are. Oh, actually, and a really special thing about Butterberry, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Something very cool about Butterberry as well is that the flowers come before the leaves.
Oh right.
Which is quite unusual. So the flowers come at the base very early on, and then the leaves come up after.
The leaves come after, which is usually the opposite of everything else, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see now the dragonflies sort of.
Yeah. Oh, it's great habitat. Great habitat. This section here, actually, this was all completely just hedge.
Right.
So again, the work that I've been able to do with the Kickstart program is that we got some tools down here, got some guys trained up, and we cleared this path now. And so now we have a path.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be what you need is sensitive management, isn't
Definitely.
Because if you do just let nature go, it becomes inaccessible.
Yeah, it's inaccessible, and also things sometimes, you know, don't really cooperate with one another, right? And
yeah.
I mean, for example, we've got loads of nettle in here, which nettle is fantastic. I love nettle, but at the same time, we want to start establishing some different plant life in here.
Sure.
Things that should be here, kind of thing. We don't want to introduce anything new or go for anything strange, but
Sure.
you know, perhaps some bluebells, maybe some snowdrops.
Sure, yeah.
We've done a lot of research into it and looked back at perhaps what did exist. This patch of woodland is actually really quite old. And you can tell by all the dog's mercury that's spread all over the place.
Sure.
Not to mention the size of some of the trees down here. Yeah, exactly. Right, so we might not be able to get through here at the moment because we did move our cattle into the next field. Okay. And normally that would be all right, but we do have a bull in with a couple of the heifers, and perhaps
we'll stay just out. To look at them from a distance.
To be honest, he's probably the most docile bull that you'll ever meet. I think the cows are more aggressive than he is. Okay. But yeah, if we could walk this way, we made a footpath going down there through the meadow, and it just loops back around. But we can go. It is, and the folks who have sort of stumbled across it, they come back all the time. We have people who I see, you know, if not once a week, at least a couple times in the week. Some people, they come daily just to get their walk in. It's nice, it's quiet, it's peaceful, and it's a reminder that, you know, a sort of prime nature habitat isn't really all that far away, right? Yeah. You don't have to drive to the Suffolk Heritage Coast. No. You don't have to go to Minsmere, which all those places are fantastic, but you know, it can be a bit to get to those places. But like I said, you can literally walk out of Asda and you're in, come across, and here you are
in seconds.
Yeah, it's a big reason why we're doing the River for All project, is because we want to get more people aware of what's down here. You know, it shouldn't be the best kept secret kind of thing, right? We want everyone to know about it and to enjoy and to reconnect, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think because one of the things I reckon we're going to have following the lockdowns is going to be a huge mental health problem.
Definitely.
And green spaces are one of the key tools.
Absolutely, yeah.
To help with that, really.
You know, the more I'm here, the more I'm working with young people.
Yeah.
Even on my Kickstart program, right?
Yeah.
My guys are all under 24. A lot of them are 20 and stuff. For them to not be in front of a computer or a PlayStation or Xbox or whatever, you know, it's quite grounding to sort of come back to reality and just have a look around. One of the things that we're doing this year are evening tours where we go and sit in the hide that we built,
right?
Which we should check out.
Yeah.
And we just wait to see if the badgers come out.
Yeah.
And whatever else that we might be able to find. And some people might perceive that as boring, but when you're sat down there, it can almost be quite meditative, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
And then some animal comes out, it's very exciting.
Exactly.
But you know, to be able to sit there and just sort of like not have to think about things or listen to something, or we'll walk down here. We might be able to loop back through this meadow, but we'll have a look see. But I just want to show you sort of how far it does go. Yeah. So we have got a lot of this type of tree down here, eh?
Okay.
This is your Alder tree.
Yeah.
And alders are very cool. So another thing that we're doing here is that we do our toxin tours, right? And our
Sure.
we bring people down the riverside and sort of talk about what you're actually looking at.
Okay.
Because it makes a huge difference, right? When going from simply enjoying
Yeah.
to be perfectly honest, it's not everybody's thing to come for a walk, right? But
Yeah.
when you start learning about it, and if you actually know what you're looking at and maybe why it's there, then it becomes something else.
Yeah.
And so I do like to talk about the alders that are down here, because there's lots of very cool history with it, and they were used a lot to make charcoal.
Right. Okay.
Which here at the museum we do have a guy who makes charcoal
Okay.
in the traditional way. He does toxin tours of his own, so we're able to kind of connect, like, ways of the past
Yeah.
that we demonstrate with the nature aspect
Sure.
that's still remaining here, which is really neat.
Which hence the name Museum of East Anglian Life. So
Right?
You've got sort of access and knowledge about how things were hundreds of years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, another major thing that we're doing here is we've teamed up a lot with, like I said, different organizations around town.
Sure.
But one especially, which has been really successful for both parties, is we've teamed up with the Stowmarket Town Council for a couple of different things. So just recently we did a biodiversity event.
Okay.
It was called Biodiversity 100, and a collaborative event with us, the Town Council, the Suffolk Wildlife Trust, and a few different groups in Stowmarket, and we installed 100 different habitats on a different site here in Stowmarket.
Right.
This December, though, we will be having a tree planting day.
Okay.
So we've got 250 trees that need to be planted.
Wow.
So we're going to get some volunteers to come in and do that, and we'll be planting them around the various meadows here
Right.
to get some more tree coverage for wildlife. Cool, so we'll head back this way. I just know that this was a primary source for the hops that were. It's a very fertile land, right?
Yeah.
Because of the river, and because of the trees and the leaf litter and everything.
Yeah.
You couldn't ask for sort of better growing conditions.
No.
This bank right here is where we have a lovely family of badgers that live. They've made a home in the hedge just at the top of the bank, but there's also some of their set does come out onto it. The badger is fantastic. There's been a little bit of And what's really exciting is, as I keep mentioning, just down the way over there is our hide that we built.
Okay.
And we can go have a look at it. And once a month in the evenings, I take guests, come down, and we go sit in the hide, and we wait for the badgers to come out, which one of their main sets is just right here.
Wow.
And they have some various other ones along the bank. Just at this first bench, we opened up a very small new trail that leads over to the edge of the bank. as I mentioned at the very start, we're hoping to get some artists down here to put in some sculptures and do some art installations. So places like this would be really, really fantastic to get some wood sculptures or whatever creative elements that they decide to go with. But this is our hide,
Right.
and it's really quite something. And it was built by a fellow who does traditional hurdle making in my Kickstarters. So it was a training session for my guys.
Wow.
But we also came away with something really quite special. So over that way, if you see those telephone poles, and then just beyond them, there's some trees that come down the bank a bit. Just to the left of that, that's where the badgers tend to come out, and that's where we get our best sightings of them. And it's really interesting. Like I said, there was a bit of sort of conflict with the badgers with human wildlife interactions, right? Because unfortunately the badgers decided to make some of their home in the horse paddock, which is all right, but it does pose a safety threat to our horse, our Suffolk Punch, who is and Suffolk Punches are a very rare breed that need protection as well. So what we did is we actually gave a very large buffer zone after consulting some experts, and we've reshaped the horse paddock to build enough space around so that our horse won't end up putting his foot through a hole. So it keeps our horse safe, but it also keeps the badgers protected as well and gives them a little space. And I do check on them every now and then. We put our camera, our trail cam out there, and they're doing very, very well between the hedge, this bank, and the little space that they have just inside. But I mean, you could easily, you could do a couple of days at the museum, if not at least one nice, good, solid, long day between the the nature side of things, the river trail, all the great old buildings we have up there, the collections that we have, the wagons, plus the livestock that we've got. All the breeds are local breeds. They were chosen specifically for that reason. It's like I said, you don't have to travel far to have a really nice day, outside and walking around and learning while you're at it. Because when I do my tours down on the river trail for guests, no two tours are the same, because there's always something different to talk about. And what's really nice is we're actually not too far away from some nice pubs, so it's
I don't know about you, but I thoroughly enjoyed discovering that. This is right on my doorstep. This is the Museum of East Anglian Life. It's right in the middle of our town. You don't have to drive out to this if you live here. It's right in the middle of town, next door to the supermarket. And what a fantastic nature reserve to have so close to a town centre. So if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy one of these videos.